Madam President, thank you for again the opportunity to be here with you, and to the prisoners in Camps Liberty and Ashraf. Your sacrifices, your suffering will not be in vain. As dramatic change continues to race across the Middle East, there's a secret war going on in Washington and in other capitals of the world on the future of policy towards Iran, the most strategically important and dangerous country in the region. Now, the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security, the MOIS, is fully engaged in this battle. In fact, they're probably directing it. They suborn America and other countries' media, think tanks, and even the general public. Now, even in ancient times, nations and governments, even communities, have relied on intelligence as an essential guide to statecraft. In the past, some of that was used for conquest, to vanquish enemies. But when the modern state evolved, a fundamental change occurred in the nature of intelligence as an instrument of the government. Previously, the emphasis was on the security of the state and the survival of the regime. Now, there is a strong emphasis on human security, human rights, and freedoms. Iran's MOIS never made this change. In fact, they have reverted even deeper into their past, where they see their only role as protecting the regime of the mullahs and persecuting their enemies. In Iran, the MOIS, as well as the IRGC intelligence, to include the Quds Force, operates under the direct supervision of the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini. A good intel service is not an oppressor of the people they serve, but rather protectors of their security and well-being. This is not the case with the MOIS. This is what causes the people of Iran to fear and hate them. Now, at the center of this campaign on the future of Iran is the status of the MEK. Fortunately, it was removed from the Foreign Terrorist Organization list, but there is still a major propaganda campaign that is raging, and it has muddied the waters. I've worked against the MOIS overseas. I'm familiar with how they operate. They are very good at disseminating what we call disinformation about their opponents. In fact, the largest element within the MOIS is the Department of Disinformation. They use psychological warfare and disinformation against the regime's opponents. They also manipulate the media in other countries as well in order to project a more positive image of Iran. They use news agencies like the Mehr news agency to plant false stories in the media about the MEK in order to discredit them or to blame them for atrocities like the attempted attack on the Saudi ambassador to the United States a mere 17 months ago. The MOIS views the MEK as the single most significant threat to their regime, and as such, they will continue to do whatever they can to propagate falsehoods against the MEK. These allegations have included charges that the MEK was hiding Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction in Camp Ashraf, to training female suicide bombers in the camp, to attempting to bring down airliners. All of these were made up by the MOIS. None were taken seriously by the American security establishment or other countries of the world. We are all too familiar with some of their more egregious techniques like kidnapping, torture, sabotage, assassination. But they're also a very sophisticated service, and they are quite subtle when trying to influence the media and policymakers into adopting their lies. These lies are spreading not just in various blogs, but also have been picked up by the mainstream media, to include CNN and the New York Times. These media outlets have generally not questioned these allegations, and they relied on the judgment of, nor have they relied on the judgment of seasoned intelligence officers. One technique that the MOIS has been doing rather well is what we call false flag. They arrange for people to pretend to be someone other than they are, and to include members of the Green Movement, members of the MEK. In fact, American media sources on the MEK have been an echo chamber of the MOIS. Front groups and proxies pose as credible Iranian-American organizations and academics. A perfect example was the August 2011 rally that we held outside the State Department in Washington, D.C. There were thousands of Iranian Americans demonstrating there. I, along with a few other members of the current panel, spoke at that rally. They had a reporter from CNN who did not quote a single actual participant in the rally, but rather a well-known pro-regime character who, not surprisingly, condemned the entire affair. As another example, the MOIS has for years utilized the services of a British citizen, Anne Singleton, and her Iranian-born husband. Now, they coerced them into cooperating and into spying on the MEK because they threatened his mother's property in Tehran. Now, the MOIS also infiltrates Iranian communities outside of Iran. They use a variety of methods, and even here in France, there's an organization called the Supporting Iranian Refugees, and they attempt to recruit people in that organization to spy on Iranians in France. Now, I've looked at the intelligence that was used for years to classify the MEK as a terrorist organization. And based on my nearly 30 years of professional intelligence work, I saw nothing in those documents, nothing, that would indicate even remotely that the MEK was a terrorist organization. It was done for political reasons. We must show the mullahs in Tehran that the U.S. will stand up for its friends, that we are indeed resolute in rectifying what has been an exceptionally egregious situation over the past 25 years, and that we will do the right thing. Now, Prime Minister Maliki has said, when he referred to both Camp Ashraf and Camp Liberty, that, and this is a quote, Iraq is dealing with the residents of the camps as individuals in accordance with the human rights principles and rules of international law. This is a blatant lie, especially when you look at the atrocities that have occurred. The killing of 50 innocent civilians, to include women, the wounding of over 1,000 at Camp Ashraf less than 2 years ago. Now, Camp Liberty. We have many prisons in the civilized world that have better conditions than those that exist currently in Camp Liberty. Yet what crimes have these innocent civilians committed? Is it their efforts to see a pluralistic political system in their home country? One where freedom of speech and assembly exist, and where there is gender equality and a separation of church and state? I ask you, is it a crime to want these most basic of human rights? If it is, then we are all criminals. While the Iranian intelligence service, while they have considerable skills in espionage, they cannot hide the truth that the MEK promotes a peaceful, nonviolent, and democratic Iran, that the MEK is committed to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as international conventions and covenants, and promotes a domestic and foreign policy based on peaceful coexistence. Now that the MEK has finally been removed from the foreign terrorist list, the U.S. needs to reach out to the MEK as part of a comprehensive effort to increase pressure towards the clerical regime in Tehran. The MEK has repeatedly proven itself to be a very trustworthy ally, and one with whom the United States and other peace-loving countries of the world should partner with when it comes to the future of Iran. As General David Phillips, former commander of security forces at Camp Ashraf, has so appropriately stated in the past, Camp Ashraf, and by extension Camp Liberty, is not a place. It is a belief and a spirit within all freedom-loving people. Thank you.